Welcome to the series on how to study, and I guess we're going to call this study tips because studying is a complex thing to do. It's not as easy as just go read your notes, or it's not as easy as just make flashcards, or it's not as easy as let's just talk about it. It's more involved than that. Your brain is a complex piece of machinery that you've got to really understand how you like to learn and then try and learn in that particular way. Let me give you an example. What I want you to do is just close your eyes for a second. All right, you can still hear my voice, but just close your eyes for a second. Hopefully it's somewhere quiet. Now what I want you to do is I want you to think of your friend. So you're thinking of your friend, you got your eyes closed. Just experience what you're feeling at the moment when you think of your friend. Okay, open your eyes. So when you did that, how many of you saw this? How many people saw the words your friend? Not many people from my experience when I do this with my students at school over the many years of showing you this, how many people do not see that? They see a picture. Most people see a picture. Then I say to you, okay, you see a picture. Now imagine you're looking forward and you have a field of view, okay? Just like this screen that you're looking at now, you have a field of view and I'm roughly in the center of it. But when you saw the picture of your friend, was your friend in the middle of your field of view, the top left, the top right, the bottom left, the bottom right, etc.? Most people say in the middle. Then I go, okay, when you saw the picture of your friend in the middle of your frame, did you see it in color or black and white? And majority of people, over 99%, 97%, something like that, really high, see in color. Then I say to them, okay, so you see in color, you see in the middle, you see with pictures. What are some other things that you may have experienced? And these ones tend to go down in the percentage, but it does show you the individual way in which people learn. I say, okay, how many people experience a texture? Because when you feel a texture, that can trigger your memory. So you might remember your friend sitting down on grass, having a picnic all the time. So every time you sit down on grass, it brings back that memory. Or what about you sitting down studying on a rug or on a lounge, or a certain type of textual component that makes you immediately think of your friend? What about smell? Now I'm not saying your friends smell. What I'm saying is, does that smell, a certain smell, is that associated with a memory? For example, most people when they smell popcorn think of movies, okay? Or you smell a certain perfume and that reminds you of a certain person. So smell can be a powerful memory trigger. So sometimes people think, oh, I smell the smell of coffee. That reminds me of me and my friends sitting in a coffee house, and we used to always have fun and talk there. So what about sound? Sound's a tricky one, but sometimes obviously you hear songs and that reminds you of something, but maybe sound. Now sound is a tricky one because when you go to study, it's been shown that sound can actually be a distractor from learning hard, complex material. And also you can't replicate sound in a quiet exam room. So when it comes to studying, sound we try to be as silent as possible, because really like an athlete, you want to replicate the test conditions so that you can perform at your maximum. And usually in test conditions in the exam room, there's no music playing. That can't help you recall stuff. You're not allowed headphones. So we usually forget sound when it comes to looking at how to study and enhance memory recall. What about some other things though? Well, some people like to associate the environment, I guess the temperature, right? Now what about this? When you are remembering things that happened in your past, most people remember the happy and the sad. They forget the mundane, they forget the boring, because your mind switches off and goes off into la la land, right? So funny situations and that help memory recall. So when we're studying, we want to do it in such a way as that we make it fun, or we make elements that sort of stick out in your memory to go, I remember when we did that because we laughed about when you're drawing the diagram. So, or engaging, okay? So what is that showing you? It's showing you that your brain, without any training, right, without any practice in a way, your brain naturally likes to learn in those particular ways. Now that's not coincidence. You think about how you learnt the alphabet when you were a child, when you were very young, and how we teach, you know, toddlers' things and preschoolers' things. Look at that. It's not a coincidence. There's a reason why, because we know brains like to learn that way. We know that they love pictures. So from the age of like 1, you've been constantly shown pictures and flashcards, and you've been said pen, pen, soft drink, soft drink. You've been told things with visuals and associating that visual with the word. It's called association. And so pictures are very powerful. You're learning in colour. Okay, you're seeing things in colour. You're doing things with smell and texture and environment. And of course there's other things in there too, which we're going to talk about in our study session, which is about memory recall and repetition and frequency and all those other things. But just at the very basics, have a look at that list. That list, you could say in a way, is a bit opposite to what most people do when they study or when they go to school. What do they do when they study or go to school mostly? They write text, and the text is usually written across the page, maybe with the occasional picture. So the text, and the text is predominantly one colour, right? You might go rogue and you might go, oh, I'm going to use a blue pen and a red pen, and maybe a pencil. But text mainly is one colour. It's across the page from left to right. I mean, if I was to give you a quick little test right now, and I was to show you a page, right, that's full of text and full of writing, and then I was to show you another page that had colour, it had pictures, and it had diagrams, and I was to show each one of them for 2 seconds, you're probably going to remember the one that's more engaging, that's more visually, spatially separated, that's got colour, etc. That's what you're going to recall. You're not going to recall any detail at all of pages and pages and pages of text from left to right, because they look the same, they're mundane, your mind starts to switch off. So we want to think about how we take notes. How we take notes. So in these tips, I'm going to be showing you how to take effective notes, but not only take effective notes, how to use those notes to make them more engaging and more active. Because as you can see here, the environment engaging is all about being active in your learning, not what we call passive. We're going to get into that more later. So text, how are you going to take notes that are more effective? What other things do you do at school? Well, unfortunately, a lot of school classrooms, the students sit in rows. They sit in rows and they sit down and they listen to some teacher talk. And so that's passive, not active. It's not engaging. Okay, so that's what we do. What about when students say, oh yeah, I studied, I read over my notes. You don't just read your notes, right? You got to make them meaningful. You got to make them active. You got to use them in a different way. So we're going to be making tips about how to just read over notes to make it more visual, right? To make it more active, because we like learning in a mixture of ways. We like learning visual, we like learning with sound, and we like learning with kinesthetic, which is using your hands and active. So if we combine how we revise your study notes, how do we use them, then it's going to be more powerful than just using one, what we call in teaching, modality of learning, just reading. So we've got those things there, very, very active. So these are the way that traditional school runs, and I guess most students study, totally opposite the way your brain likes. So in this series, we're going to be looking at a lot of things, a lot of study tips. You don't have to watch them sequentially. You can jump around depending upon where you are. But I'm going to give you a lot of study tips that's going to make you more powerful in your learning, improve your memory recall, so that you don't rely on carrying a book of notes around all the time because you already know them. Right? How you can make effective flashcards. You don't just make flashcards and just rote learn. That is probably the lowest level of understanding you can get, that recall level that we call it. We want to make your study notes or your flashcards powerful learning devices that you learn them, and once you know them, you don't need to use them again because it's already in your head, and we're using ways to apply that knowledge. All right, we're going to be talking about frequency of learning, how to learn, how frequent, why it's important to do it, all these things. But there's also nutrition, etc. Anyway, that's it for the beginning video. I'm going to make another video that's going to link academic study, revision, success to what we normally see as a sports person. We're so used to seeing sports people and how they prepare and what they do to succeed. I think there's a lot we can learn from them. So anyway, I'll see you in another video. And until then, keep watching these, keep improving, keep stimulating your brain cells, because they are very plastic. They can change, they can relearn, and you will show yourself how smart you really are. All right, see you in another video.